about to bring in our special guest. I know no one can hear me. You know what? I can, and it makes me feel better. So we're just going to bring him in anyways.
It's a glorified phone call.
It's a glorified phone call.
Hey,
Ngaio, my bad, bro. I don't know if you tried to jump in beforehand.
Appreciate your patience.
We got some tech difficulties, but we're just gonna say fuck it with because if you can't hear the music, I'm not worried about it. Right now, it's all about the conversation.
What kind of music are you playing?
I got a music bed playing in the background, but apparently something's wrong with my mixer, and it doesn't want to hear anything coming from the music bed, so I'm just going to ignore it.
The sound of your voice will be melody enough for us.
That's right. And everyone else can hear us, and that's fine. As long as they can hear the mics or whatever, we're good. My man, thank you for joining us. It really means a lot to have you on. You're a staple in the cannabis community.
I'm a staple in the cannabis centerfold.
Exactly. And that is why having you on a show like ours seemed like the perfect fit. It's like a perfect fit. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm gonna take,
it's like a hand in a custom glove.
I got the King Pop here. I'm gonna light this up before we get this started because I gotta have a nice stone conversation with my man real quick. I see he's got the Ziploc, so I see we're pulling it out.
I'm gonna decide which one I should smoke. I don't know. I have to work later. Sativa it is. Sour Jack.
Sour Jack. There you go. That's a nice strain.
Yeah, homegrown.
What?
Freaked out the backyard, bitches.
So you grow your own shit?
Badly.
What do you mean badly? Why would you say that's badly?
I grow using the benevolent neglect system on the theory that cannabis knows what to do. So if you just put it in your backyard and keep the bugs off of it and give it water, you should be all right. It should be okay. Like, I'm not out here trying to grow an award-winning strain. I'm just trying to keep it from dying and have some shit to smoke over the winter.
I hear you.
Nice.
He's got a good point.
And it came out nice. And I'm usually not home enough to be all, Mr. Worried about it all the time.
I can only imagine you constantly must be on the road, except for now. See, Scott, we're gonna take our hits. We're good, man. We're good. We're gonna chill.
Yeah.
We're gonna relax. We have fuck the tech problems.
Everybody else can enjoy this in post.
That's right. No, not everybody. No. We're good.
You can't polish a turd, man. You gotta.
Well, I don't want to really. I don't want to compare ours to turds yet. It's not that far off.
But old engineer homies used to say all the time.
Really?
We can do that both. They'd be like, "You can't polish a turd. We're gonna have to do it again." I'd be like, "Damn it."
All right. Well, I don't want to stall anymore. I really want to get it going. We're at, as a creator myself, I was excited to talk to you because as a canna creator, we're experiencing a lot of issues in the community as far as keeping our content up and running. A lot of people are posting content that is getting taken down because they're shown smoking cannabis or blowing out smoke on camera. It's this whole big thing going on. This stigma that they still think it's such a bad thing. And there's so many people trying to make it as a canna creator or do something as far as cannabis, like myself, who has done weed and music, weed and podcasts, all this stuff. And I know so many people, especially my followers on TikTok, that are struggling. So I wanted to have a conversation with you about cannabis and your journey to success.
Shit hasn't changed. I've always fought against that. Everybody's all like, "Oh, he's just a weed comic. Oh, he doesn't talk about weed." It doesn't matter. Weed is like anchovies. Once you put a little bit on the plate, some people are just going to be freaked out. It's going to overpower a little bit.
Are you an anchovies fan? I got to ask.
I do like anchovies. I love them in a Caesar salad, and I don't mind them on a pizza. I mean, but you can't have too much. But also, weed haters are going to weed hate, man. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I used to be kind of a tone policer. Like, oh, dress up when you go to protests, and don't say pot, say cannabis. Don't say getting high. Say get medicated. Blah blah blah. Don't say joint. Say pre-roll. And you know what? If common sense was enough to sway a politician weed would never have been made illegal in the first place, right?
Well,
so people who are gonna hate weed are gonna hate weed. So you just got to do what you do. Overgrow the government has always been my thing.
Overgrow the government. That's something I can get behind. Overgrow, not like what happened yesterday, but overgrow the government.
No, yesterday was a farce and a sham, an example of systemic racism, and just you can't. Are we really trying to get into this, or are we? Just
no, we don't want to get too deep into it. We're all about good vibes here.
We can get into it, or we could just smoke weed and enjoy ourselves.
Let's enjoy.
I like option B.
I think we had enough of. I personally had enough. I watched so many hours of that on the news yesterday.
Dude, I was busy all day. Like, I was at a place that didn't have a TV. So, like, I didn't really, like, I found out later, and I was like, oh, my God, all this happened today?
Really?
Yeah, dude. But anyway.
All right. Well, listen.
You didn't spend the day doom scrolling?
Doom scrolling.
I did not, actually.
Dude, so you most recently, now you've been on Cooking on High on Netflix. Great show. I watched it. I'm a big fan. I would love to know, how did you go from, I know you've done a little acting in the background and you've appeared on many networks, but how did you go from mostly doing stand-up comedy to jumping on a project like that?
Very lucky. They called me kind of randomly and they said, hey, we're looking for somebody who knows a lot about weed and who's comfortable on camera. And I was like, oh yeah, I know a guy. He looks a lot like me. I'll go get him.
I mean, I think that's such an awesome gig to go from, doing stand-up and then get to host a show, a full series, and especially something that's so right up your alley with the Cannabis Man. Being able to be in that role of cannabis expert.
Sure.
You called yourself a connoisseur, I read.
Yeah. The dank diplomat. That's me.
The dank diplomat, the guru on ganja. That's another one I heard.
I'm the diplomat.
How long have you been smoking for?
Oh, since the 80s.
Oh, okay, since the 80s. Nice, see?
Back when weed didn't have names. It was just weed. Hey, you got any weed? Yeah, I got some.
It's just weed, exactly. There was none of this fancy shit today.
I mean, there were legendary names like Acapulco Gold or Panama Red.
Maui Wowie.
Yeah. People didn't really have that. It was just weed or not weed. Sometimes Humboldt. Humboldt's always had a cachet. Like, this is from Humboldt. Oh, ooh.
Yep.
Still although I feel like Mendocino's kind of a little hotter than Humboldt these days, but that's how I feel about it.
Cannabis has come such a long way since then as the plant itself. We've
gone from being a felony to being an essential service. So
right, and just the actual plant itself, like the shit you got in the 80s compared to the shit you're getting now, it's like night and day.
I don't know about that. I don't think people say that, but then they do tests and it hasn't changed. I mean, it looks prettier. People know how to trim it. People know the growing techniques are a little better. And maybe the THC content is a little higher, but I feel like the effects are all still kind of the same. And almost sometimes I feel like in this zeal to grow the strongest weed, we do ridiculous shit. Like, THC is not the only factor that goes into a cannabis high or a cannabis bug, right?
Right.
It's the terpenes. We're finding out more and more every day that it's the terpenes, way more than the THC, which gives you some elation and also can make you fucking paranoid or anxiety ridden, as we've all done that.
Oh, too many times.
Too many times. And that happened because people were just breeding for THC content and they had bred out all the CBD, and we find out that CBD is a THC blocker. So if you have more CBD in your weed, you can smoke more THC and not be as freaked out and still get that full THC benefit. And also CBD has good benefits. It's nice. It's good for the psyche. You know what I mean? It's a mood leavener. It's an anti-inflammatory. So there's all these things. So I feel like we're coming around full circle again. And people, when they consume, and I'm not trying to sound like anybody's uncle or granddad or whatever, but don't just look at THC as the end all be all. Like, Everclear is fucking 90% alcohol, but you don't drink that every day. right? You're like, oh, I want the strongest alcohol constantly all the time. You're like, oh,
Right.
maybe I'll have a 5% beer, or I'll have a glass of wine, or I'll just have a regular shot and not a shot of 151, right?
You're right.
So approach it with intention and that sort of thing. I mean, sometimes my intention is to get fucked up as possible.
I mean, oh, I'm with you, man.
Sometimes my intention is just to catch a nice buzz and go to a movie.
Exactly. I'm with you right there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. I love going to the movies when I'm high.
Yeah.
Man, weed and movies go together like weed and movies. I tell you that.
Absolutely. You literally can't go wrong. I love to pull up in there. I'll bring my little vape tube with me. So I'll be sitting up in my chair, big ass basket of popcorn, my little weed vape sitting in the back row, just ripping that shit.
When my kids were little, they would get me to go to the movies all the time. They'd be like, Daddy, the panda knows kung fu. I'd be like, what shit? The panda knows kung fu. Let's go. I hope that shit is in 3D. I'm ready for this cooking rat and kung fu panda, all that shit. Let's go.
I hope that's me as a father. I really do. That's definitely going to be me as a father. 100%. So let me ask you, not to bring it back, I want to change the topic real quick. I want to know, like, what made you decide to make cannabis like your niche? Like that was going to be your thing as far as your career in entertainment.
I don't know if it was ever like a super conscious decision. Like I was kind of pushed that way because, like I said, you got a few weed jokes in your act. All of a sudden, you're a weed comedian, and I kind of fought against it for the longest time. And then, and I was still doing a lot of weed activism and stuff. And then I got divorced, and I was gonna have to get a job for a minute because I didn't want to move out with my kids. And so me and the weed plant had a discussion, and I was like, "Listen, if you make sure I get a job and some money, I will go really hard for you." And it worked out. Like I found a place to stay and a job in the cannabis industry like right away. And I was like, all right, weed, awesome. Here we go. So I started going extra hard for weed. Like I'm just showing up at all the hemp fests and hemp festivals and city council meetings and protests and actions like that. Right. It's not like weed still isn't legal everywhere. Right. You can still get arrested in Idaho. You used to get arrested in Texas and Arkansas and all these other places. So until everyone is out of jail for weed, weed is not legal. Until you can grow weed in your backyard in Washington State or in Illinois, even though they have recreational weed out there, weed is still not legal. So like we still have a long way to go. I've been doing this for like 30 years. Right. We all thought weed was going to be legalized in 96 when Clinton got a second term. We thought weed was going to be legalized when Obama got a second term. And it turns out it doesn't work like that. You got to go hard. I mean, it's coming around. It's coming around. Like Oklahoma. You ever think fucking Oklahoma would have medical cannabis?
Nah, they're prospering, dude.
Got legal weed right now. Arizona's got legal weed right now. So,
dude, even our last election here in Connecticut, I mean, our big thing for our two governors was that one of them promised that was going to be his first fucking thing he did was legalize marijuana. And of course, he went and got a shit ton of votes. I think a lot of it was from that.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of my friends were like, I'm voting for him because he's for weed. And now, how many years he's been in office, Scott?
Oh, I don't know. Was it at least
a few? Yeah. A few? Is weed legal yet? No! Yeah, we still don't have legal weed yet. This is bullshit. You know? But just the thought of it was enough to drive people to vote that direction.
Weed is no longer the electric third rail of the political system, too. It used to be if a politician came out for weed, everybody would freak out. Nobody would vote for him. And now if you come out for weed, you get a bunch more votes. Everybody's like, that's a good idea. You know, once again, if common sense and science ruled the day, we'd all be getting better unemployment checks, and this virus would be almost eradicated, and weed would be legal everywhere. So,
I mean, you're not wrong. Absolutely, you're right. And that's
there's an old, what do they say? It's attributed to Churchill, but I don't know if he actually said it. It may be apocryphal. You can always expect Americans to do the right thing after they have tried everything else.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So you started doing all these things, cannabis. You were going to all the events. You're going to the town halls, and then eventually now you're doing cannabis high times events.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of stand-up. What did you face a lot of hiccups on that road?
Oh yeah.
When you started taking that road of 100%, I'm going to go this road towards cannabis.
Oh, all the time. You know, I lost a manager. I never got invited to Montreal to do Just for Laughs because you're just a weed comic. Blah 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 blah. Right? You know,
Right.
My old manager a few years ago, she's like, "Man, you were really ahead of your time. We should have paid more attention to you." And I was like, "I fucking told you." And now they call me like, "Hey, we need a weed comic." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool, but my rates have gone up because you guys fucking diddled around." So, I mean, you know, listen, man, everybody makes choices. And the beauty of being self-employed is you can say whatever the fuck you want, right? But there's always consequences. And I think that's what a lot of these cats out here who are all of a sudden getting arrested for trespassing with stolen property, I don't think they really think that they were supposed to receive consequences. You get this all the time with that. You want to yell out it's my First Amendment right to say that. Yeah, your First Amendment right says you can say that, but it doesn't say someone's not going to punch you in the mouth. It doesn't say you're not going to lose your job. It guarantees freedom of speech, not freedom from consequence. So I'm fortunate that I was willing to work hard enough, and and don't get it twisted, I'm still poor. Right, like, I got a place to live, and I pay my bills and shit. But I got $1,000 in my 401k, and I'm 52 years old. But I would have done the whole fucking thing again. I've been broke as fuck in 10 different countries. All right, so I mean, live your life, man. Money's an illusion. They say you become more conservative when you get older, and I don't find that to be the case. I am definitely way more like burn all this shit down and let's just start again.
If only it were that easy.
I used to be way more moderate. I was like, well, listen, man, if we just use common sense and science, they have to listen to us, right? They have to do the right thing because it's common sense and science. So,
I will say, man, you got so much knowledge. Like, I want to just christen you like the weed wizard.
The weed wizard.
Because like I've been watching Cooking on High, and I don't know if we So I've been watching Cooking on High. And first of all, you look dapper every episode, by the way. Can I just tell you?
You
that?
do. You got some fly ass suits, bro.
They were like,
I
was like, bad. I had to load up my car and fucking drive them all down to LA. I drove all my clothes down.
So our listeners out there, if you haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. Cooking on High, definitely check it out. But I gotta ask though, because it's like an edible, what is it? A cooking show, edible with weed. I got a 2-part question for you. I want to know, what is your favorite strain, like recreationally, and what's your favorite strain, like as an edible?
For an edible?
My favorite strain recreationally is probably whatever I'm smoking at the moment.
That's a great. That's how true stoner answers.
I mean, for me, it's like my favorite beer is the next. But,
As long as it's been grown with love and intention. I'm gonna give a shout out to some of my favorite farms in California. Shout out Green Shock Farms in Mendocino. Shout out Sticky Fields in Mendocino. Shout out Flamingo Farms in Richmond, California. Shout out Buddy Buddy in San Francisco, and shout out Fig Farms. I don't know where they are. And shout out MD Farms in Salinas.
Damn, you remembered all that too.
In the country right now. Shout out all the clubs in Barcelona. Dr. Do, Sucks. What are they called? Soner Social Club, or I can't remember what they're called. The Dank High Club or Dank Social Club. I can't remember the name because I was high as fuck.
That's the best.
Here's the thing about Spain, man. I don't know what it is about the Spanish weed, but that shit gets me zooted. And it's not just the jet lag. Like Spanish weed, I think they just grow for straight THC or something because I'm always way higher than I think I'm gonna get when I leave a weed club.
Really? See, I've never even been to Spain, and now you're going to make me put that on my list of places I have to visit.
You have to visit Spain, man. They have a really cool system. Like, weed is still technically illegal in Spain, but the government has said that people can grow it and people can have it and people can use it. So they have social clubs. So you got to know somebody, you got to get invited to a club, and it costs like 20 euros. And then you can go in and buy weed and smoke weed, and they have really nice flavors. And since it is still illegal, if you're trying to pay extra money, you can buy weed from California. So I've heard in Spain, and you can buy weed from other countries in Spain too. It's not just Spanish weed. So you can and I can't wait till cannabis is legal everywhere because as much as people like French wine, I like Moroccan hash, and I would love to be able to walk into the shop and be like, "Oh, you got new shit in from Morocco? Fantastic! I'll take a finger of this and a little bit."
Listen, I feel that. Are these
blonde? Oh, hell yes.
Are these social clubs like the coffee shops that are in like God,
they're
Scott,
like the coffee shops in Amsterdam for sure.
Thank you. Yes, I had a brain fart.
Some are like co-working offices. Some are just like a bar, like a sports bar, and everybody's got a theme, man, and they're all hella cool. I'm a big fan of almost every club I went to in Barcelona. I really enjoyed.
So you've done a lot of high times events. How many cannabis cups have you been to?
I went to the one in Amsterdam like 20 something years ago.
What?
I've done the one in Denver. I've done a bunch of them in California. I'm the MC for the Emerald Cup. I threw 3 Los Angeles medical cannabis cups in the early 2000s. I throw tasting parties out here now too. I also work for the International Cannabis Business Conference. Shout out Alex and the Click. Seattle Hemp Fest, Portland Hemp Stalk. I've been to Madison, Wisconsin. I've been to Boston. I've been to all, man, if you think weed, I've probably showed up at it or tried to get a ticket. So different things. MJ BizCon.
No, I know at these events, they tend to go crazy, man. The people who are there, I've seen some crazy shit.
Yeah.
At these events, I want to know, like, for me, I've seen like leaf blowers getting blown out with smoke and shit, and like, I just want to know what would be the craziest thing you've seen at one of these cannabis events.
The leaf blower is probably one of the craziest things you'll see when they just have the big leaf blower and they fill it up full of weed, and then I was on a cannabis tour bus once in LA that would go to 3 or 4 different dispensaries, and they had the leaf blower on the bus, so we just hopped
no.
We were just gonna pump it in, and now you're just, wow.
So you need to tell me the name of that tour so I can make sure I book it the next time I'm in California.
Go to my Instagram and scroll down about a year and a half. You'll find it.
Okay. That should be easy
don't
enough.
Be afraid. If you're a new follower of mine on Instagram, don't be afraid to like some shit from 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think you're stalkery.
Don't you? It's kind of weird though sometimes when that pops up and you see someone that likes your picture you posted, like, oh, 32 weeks ago.
Yeah. I want you to like that picture though. That's why I didn't take it down. That's why I kept that picture up. So please go through all my stuff. All my
hell
stuff
yeah!
Online. Don't come to my house and just start looking through shit if you don't have permission.
True that. Well, speaking of social media, with the way things are today, how did you feel when you first started like smoking weed on camera, like on posting it to social media? Like, was that
I've not smoked weed on camera? Listen, I'm fortunate that I have the privilege of being from California, where weed has been de facto decriminalized for 20 years, right? Even before we passed Prop 215 in 1996. And it occurs to me now that there are people who are alive now who have never not known a time in California when there wasn't cannabis dispensaries. And I think that's great. I think that's great. It's like people who never didn't have cable, which is always weird. But yes, or people who've never not had the internet.
Right.
Yeah. Remember when the internet was new? Some of you don't.
Shit. Don't I know I do. I remember trying to dial into AOL.
Some of you have never had to have a beeper or an answering machine. So
that's right. A modem that sounds like R2D2.
Or a calling card. Like I used to rack up buku dollars on a calling card, making long distance calls and shit. Whenever you want. I can't remember. So I've always been like, it's never been a secret. It has never been a secret. I was in a band. We threw joints off the stage at the fucking Fillmore. Like, I've always been a cannabis activist. I've always been here for the weed. I always tell people I know I'm from California because I'll smoke weed around children, but not tobacco, because I don't want them getting bad ideas from me.
It's a good point.
Right? It's true. So that's just one of those things, man. And I'm fortunate. Like I say, I'm fortunate that I'm self-employed, so I can pretty much do what I want. It's not like they're gonna fire me from my stand-up comedian job, right? I can always find a gig. I can almost always, knock on wood, I can almost always write for somebody. But other people who may not be able to do that, who work at some corporate office or some shit, I would rather people got fired for being racist asshats than got fired for smoking weed when they're off the clock. But that's changing too, man. You know, and the rules are changing, and people are realizing that weed isn't a big deal as long as you're a responsible adult about it. And if you like to smoke, smoking a joint after work is no different than having a beer or a glass of wine or a couple shots after work, right? As long as you get your work done, as long as your dishes are clean and your bills are paid and you bathe somewhat regularly, you should be able to do just about whatever you want. And one of these things, man, is we come out here and we turn perfectly good, productive citizens into criminals, right? When we pass these drug laws. Prohibition is never the answer, except for murder and child molestation. Those should be prohibited at all times. But education is almost always a better answer than prohibition, right? Prohibition does not stop people from smoking weed. It does not stop people from taking mushrooms. It does not stop people from doing heroin. It just throws them in jail. So now you've turned an addict into a criminal. You haven't solved the problem. Drug abuse is not a criminal issue. It is a social health issue. Don't get me on my soapbox. I'm feeling my soapbox today. Be like, oh, I'm smoking green crack and black domina, and look at this run and all this shit. But I'm kind of fired.
Listen, I mean, I'm glad you said before, like how you said weed was like no big deal, because
it's not.
I know, no.
Like, when I be out here, you know, when sometimes I'll be in Texas or some other place, and I'll be smoking a bowl on the patio in the bar or whatever, and you know, with some homies, and they'll start freaking out, looking around. I'll be like, hey, man, be cool. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just smoking weed. And as long as you stay cool about it, most other people will stay cool about it. And that's the secret. That's also how you get to see titties.
Is that easy? So I'm doing it wrong the whole time?
Around titties, you will see more titties.
Scott, I mean,
I'm about to take his advice.
Scott needs that advice more than anybody right now.
Don't get all super hyped up. I mean, be appreciative, but you know, don't make it a super big deal. You'll see more of them. Make sure everybody's relaxed around you.
So here's the problem, though, with that. I'm gonna tell you my side of the coin. All right. So here's an example. Do you have for social media? Do you have a TikTok account?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So on TikTok, there's a huge, giant 420 community on there. All right. A lot of people who are making, weed-related content. And as of recently, a lot of people have noticed like their content is getting pulled down. Their videos go up. And then next thing I know, a couple hours later, it's getting pulled down. And you're not able to actually put yourself out there like you want to. And then they would go ahead after a bunch of those violations, they'll ban you.
Listen, I've been yelled at by Instagram a couple times. I'm super careful. I posted a video on Instagram once from a dispensary that just happened to have the prices board in the background. Like, it wasn't even about that. I was just like, hey, check out this dispensary, dancing and shit. And Instagram pulled it right down. And they're like, hey, you can't just be putting the prices on the thing. And I was like, it wasn't even about that. No one's fucking looking at the prices. They're trying to look at me. I'm on fucking TV. And but you know, it's the weirdest thing, man. Like, because High Times can advertise on Facebook, but if I try to advertise one of my weed shows on Facebook, they won't let me do it. And
me neither.
It's just how it is, man. And you know, until it's federally legal, who knows? Who knows? I mean, you see people taking shots and pouring booze in each other's mouths all the time. So that's how
nailed it, man. You nailed it.
There's alternative. I mean, you can go to Cannabis and post all the weed you want and talk to like-minded people. But, you know, one of those things is, too, though, you're not really just trying to preach to the choir, right? You're trying to reach other people who may not know as much or who may be interested or who just want to watch you get high and goofy. You know, one of the things we got, one of the criticisms we got from Cooking on High was, well, you guys, you're not really taking it seriously. You're just getting high. You're just eating good and getting high and having fun. I'm like, well, yeah. No one turns into fucking drunk history to watch people not get drunk. It's called drunk history.
I mean, accurate. The show's great, by the way.
Oh, no, I love the show, but like,
so
no
funny.
one was about that. No one was like, oh man, they're just getting drunk and talking about history.
Yeah.
Right.
But you put a show out where people are getting high talking about history, it's a big fucking thing.
Shit, high history would be cool, man.
Dude, right? That's something we should work on.
Yeah.
I like that idea. High history.
The way my ADHD is set up, we could talk about 15 different things. It's all interrelated, baby. It's all intersectional. Everything.
I'm also ADHD, so I feel this.
History.
I also have ADHD, Scott. I'm all over the place. So I feel this. I can go all different ways, but like, dude, high street, no, that's not as cool. High history is way better.
All right.
Nice try though.
I tried.
That sounds like you're almost gonna plan a bank robbery.
History.
Yeah, history. Oh, that's a good one.
Damn, Scott, that's gonna be the next Netflix special. 6 stoners try to rob a bank.
I love a heist film. I'm not gonna lie, I do. Heist films are probably my favorite genre. Heist.
Dude, those are great. Those are great. So, what do you have any advice just for other creators who are trying to make it as somebody who is openly advocating for cannabis?
Be yourself, have fun. It's not necessarily a competition, it's an exhibition. So put your best foot forward, do your best work, do work, get it in, generate. I always say that I generate content.
Content? All right, there you go. That's nice.
Generate content, right? And understand that not everybody's gonna dig it. Not everybody likes weed for whatever reason it is, or not everybody likes stoners. You don't know. Like, I have homies who their parents would get high and maybe weren't the best parents, and so they have a thing about people who are stoned. Like my dad, rest in peace, who actually turned his life around. But when I was younger, he was a bad drunk, and so generally, sometimes when I'm around people who are hella drunk, I'm a little uncomfortable.
Right? I can understand that.
But I'm not trying to say no one should get drunk or be a thing. Like, that's just how it is. It's how the world is. It's how life goes, man. So I'm just saying, just continue to create and invite me to be on your podcast, and I'll come help.
Dude, I honestly, this has been great. I'm so happy you came on. I would love to have you back again. So for sure.
I'll see you next week.
All right, cool.
All right.
I'll hold you to it.
My rates are very reasonable.
Oh, good. I hope it's not as bad as as Mr. Trump.
Oh, God. 10 more days, 11 more days, 12 more days. He should just quit.
I don't want to run that soapbox on you.
Get on your soapbox, dog. Tell everybody. People have to understand that this is not how it's supposed to be, and this is not how it's supposed to go. And if we could just be better people toward everybody and accept Americans as Americans, we'd be better off as a country. All right, that's the end of my little rant today.
Hey, I feel it, man. Thank you again for coming on. We appreciate you, bro.
Man. Thanks for having me. I'll see you next week.
Do you want to plug your social media or anything before you go?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I got a show coming up on January 20th. It's the inauguration. So if you go to nowheretime.com, it's at Nowhere Comedy Club. It's me. It's Atsuko Okasaku. It's Daniel Rugg Webb, Tavi, Drea Myers, and the one and only Margaret Cho. Margaret Cho is going to be on my show.
Wow, that's awesome.
Show. So January 20th, nowheretime.com. Tickets start at $10. Follow me on all the social media, NGAIO 420, Ngaio 420. That's on your Snapchat. That's on your Instagram, and it's on your Twitter, and it's on your Facebook. I should probably get a TikTok, but I'm too old to be doing weird dances. So
well, if you ever decide to, let me know.
You'll be the first person to know. And hire me on. You can go to Cameo, the Cameo app, and hire me to give out birthday shouts and smoke weed with your shut-in cousins. Anything you want to do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Court.
Have a good one.
No problem, man. Thanks again, Court. See you guys later. Take care, B.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Wow, I gave Court the shout out.
Yeah, he did.
Damn, Scott.
Yo, that was a big time guest right there, man.
We had
If nobody's checked it out, check out Cooking on High on Netflix. Like, it's what is there like? It's